This is page 42 of your math journal. Okay, and this is going to be dividing fractions. Yesterday we did models. Today we're just going to be doing it without having to draw pictures. Okay, this is going to be just like our lesson that we had with dividing by whole numbers. We've just got two fractions, so there are two ways I told you could remember this. The first one I said was copy.flip. Or my favorite, KFC. Keep the first. Flip the second. Change the sign. And remember, we're always changing the division sign to multiplication. So we can show that with an X or with a dot, and that's where this dot came from. Okay, multiply. Okay, important. The dividend never changes. So right here, I want you to put some stars, and I want you to write that. The dividend, I'm going to put that in all caps. The dividend never changes. So if you find yourself wanting to flip the first fraction, hopefully a big red flag goes through your brain saying, nope, don't do this. Okay, always flip the second one. So we're just going to do a couple of examples, and then we're going to look at a couple of story problems where this would be used. Remember, math is no good if you can't apply it to what you need to do in your daily life. All right, skip one line, and let's do 3/5 divided by 5/6. All right, keep the first. So this doesn't change. Flip the second. So this is going to become the reciprocal. So 6/5. Change the sign. Now, something important here. A lot of times people want to cross cancel before they can divide. Well, if you have a division sign here, you better not be cross canceling, because look what happens when you flip it like this. Cross cancel. I'm looking at the 3 and the 5 and the 6 and the 5. If you cross cancel up here, that's going to mess everything up. You can only cross cancel once you have a multiplication here. So do this. Now you can think about cross canceling. Here, nothing cancels, so I'm just going to multiply across the top, which would be 18 over 25. And since that didn't cross cancel, I know that this is as simplified as I'm going to be able to make it. Pretty simple, as long as you know how to multiply fractions and you remember to flip the correct one and change the sign. All right, let's try 9/10 divided by 3/5. Keep the first. So that gives me 9/10 is still here. Flip the second. So that means my reciprocal 5/3. Change the sign. I'm going to put a dot there. As long as you know that the dot and the x, they both be multiply. Okay, now I can cross cancel if I can. 9 and 3, do they have anything in common? Yes, they do. 3 goes into 3 one time. 3 goes into 9 3 times. So now I have that on top. 5 and 10, do they share anything in common? 5 goes into 5 one time. 5 goes into 10 two times. So multiply across the top. 3 times 1 is 3. 2 times 1 is 2. Now because this is an improper fraction, I want to make it a mixed number. 2 goes into 3 one time, so I have 1 whole unit. And then I have 1/2 left over. So as you can see, dividing fractions is not hard at all, as long as you remember the tricks and you remember how to multiply fractions. Okay, now where would we use this? All right, here's an example. Let's just say Ken. Ken has 2/3 pound of birdseed. He feeds his parrot 1/12 of a pound of seed each day. How many days can he feed his bird? All right, in story problems, it's not given to us what the dividend is and what the divisor is. You have to use your brain and think about what is being split up and how are we splitting it. So looking at this, I want to think, what's my total? That's usually my dividend. So he has 2/3 pounds of birdseed, and he's going to be splitting it up into groups of 1/12 of a pound to feed his bird. So that means my dividend is 2/3. And I'm dividing it up into groups of 1/12. All right, from here, as long as you set it up correctly, now the math isn't too hard. Keep the first. So I'm just going to rewrite it over here. Keep the first, so 2/3. Copy dot flip, or keep the first, flip the second. So this would be 12/1. Change the sign. Now I'm multiplying. Now, because I'm multiplying, I can actually cross cancel. So 2 and 1 share any common factors? Nope. How about 12 and 3? 3 goes into both of them, so I'm going to divide this by 3 and get 1. I'm going to divide 12 by 3 and get 4. Okay, multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom. I get 8 on top, 2 times 4, over 1 times 1 on the bottom, which is 1. So in other words, I get 8. Now what did this have to do with the context of the story? How many days can he feed his bird? So what did the rest represent? He has 8 days worth of seed. Okay, well, sometimes you're going to be asked to create your own problem based on the math problem given to you. So we're going to try something like that. I want you to make a little squiggle line here so that we know that this work is separate. Here we're going to write a story. Write a story for the problem. Okay, our problem is going to be 3/5 divided by divide it by 1/10. Now, why would we have 3/5 of something and then split it into 1/10 pieces? When you get to write a story, it can be anything as long as your numbers match up and it makes sense. So, I need to have 3/5 of something, of a pound of something, of a yard, of a foot. Let's come up with some form of measurement. I'm going to choose a giant candy bar because I love chocolate. So, we have 3/5 of a giant candy bar. Why would we be splitting it into 1/10 size pieces? Maybe it says the serving size is 1/10 of a bar. So I want to see how many servings I can get out of it. All right, sounds like a good story. So who do we want to be? Let's say Sam. Sam has 3/5 of a giant chocolate bar. Serving size is 1/10 of the bar. So what is it we'd be finding? If this is the entire chocolate bar and this is the serving size, then we would be wanting to find out how many servings does he have? All right, there's a story for it. Now let's figure it out. Keep the first, 3/5. Flip the second, so 10/1. Change the sign. Cross cancel if you can. 5 and 10 share 5 in common, so 5 divided by 5 is 1. 10 divided by 5 is 2. 3 and 1 have nothing in common, so multiply across the top, I get 6. Across the bottom, 1 times 1 is 1. So I get an answer of 6. What is that answer? In this case, he has 6 servings. All right, now you know how to divide fractions.